Okay, so let's talk about drivers and DDU, also known as the Display Driver Uninstaller. First, we'll start with the drivers. And for me, we're going to start off with AMD. So what you'd want to do is go to the manufacturer of your GPUs. So if you have NVIDIA, of course, you go and get your NVIDIA drivers. For right now, we're going to start off with AMD because it's what I have. And if you go to the downloads and support page, you'll notice here, you'll see drivers. You go there, and you'll see here that there's an auto detect available. You can download that, run that, and it will just detect what you have. Pretty straightforward and simple. Okay, so the thing is, sometimes this is not available. For about a month or two, this here wasn't there at all. It just wasn't available. So going by that, you would come down here and find your drivers this way. And of course, if it was graphics or chipset, you would switch, choosing here. And just for a quick example, we'll do chipset. For me, I have an AM4 motherboard, so I would click chipset, AMD socket AM4. My motherboard is an X570 motherboard, so I would choose this one, and then I would click submit and grab it from here. Okay, so that's just a brief example as to what I'm talking about. And from the graphics side of things, and I'll show you in a moment my particular one, what you would do is you would click graphics and choose the one that you have. For example, if you're someone who's still using a RX 580, you would go down to Radeon 500 series, and then you would go to 500. Oh, excuse me. RX 500 series, then you would go to the RX 580, for example, okay? Then submit and go and get your drivers that way. All right, but for me, it's not that. It's the 6000 series, so I would be choosing 6000 series. Okay, and we'll move on, and I'll show you more about that in a moment. Now, before we get to that, we need to talk about DDU first. And we'll do that right now. When you search for it, it pulls up a couple of different things. So there's like this here, all right, which and whatever all these other things are. What you want is the DDU uninstaller, which yes is kind of redundant because the U stands for uninstaller, but I'm gonna go with it anyhow. So the display driver uninstaller, that's what you're looking for. As you see here, I've already downloaded it. And something to note, it used to be that the display driver uninstaller would just run as is, like you would download it and just run it. However, now it requires to be installed. Of course, when you're done using it, you can uninstall it. And that being said, for the display driver uninstaller procedure, I'm going to have to go to a different computer to do it, to do the recording, because I won't be able to do it on this machine for a couple of reasons. One, I've already done the process of uninstalling and reinstalling my drivers. And two, I'm recording via OBS, so all of my videos are done with OBS and my phone. So if I were to try to do some of these things with OBS, I'd have to stop the stream, stop the recording, and restart the machine and stuff like that, and you would miss out on certain things that I need to have available for you to be able to see. So we'll be going to a different machine using my phone for a little bit of this video. Okay? But before we get there, let's just start here. So you want to go to Display Driver Uninstaller. You want to click that. At that point, you can scroll down. I mean, sure, you could read all these things if you'd like, of course. But for the sake of shortening the video here, we're going to scroll down. Okay? Now, you would click whichever one of these is closest to you. All right? Once you've downloaded it, you would be running it in safe mode, and you want to disconnect from the internet. Disconnecting from the internet is just to keep Windows from installing drivers ahead of you automatically before you have a chance to install the drivers of your choice. Okay? Now, that being said, we'll go over DDU in a few minutes. Let's get back to the drivers. All right. Now, again, this is available, the auto detect. So, I mean, you could very well just use that if you chose to, but sometimes people, want to find them here. So I have a Ryzen 5 5600X and the RX 6000 series GPU. So for me, I would click on graphics, then I would click here, and then I would click whichever one of these is mine. And for me, it's this. And then I would click on this one because that's the GPU that I have. All right. So then you would submit, and you would go to the next page from there, and you either go with Windows 10 or Windows 11, whichever it is you're using, and download it from here. So today, this was released. So before this, there was another one, which was 23.2.1, and that particular driver revision caused some people problems because during the installation, the factory reset option was either pre-clicked or they chose to click it, and that ruined things during the installation and messed up their Windows. There's a whole bunch of talk about how the drivers had messed up things for people. So that is no longer an issue. And as you see, 23.2.1 isn't even here. Of course, you'd probably have to go to like older revisions or something like that if you really needed the older one. But I would recommend you just use this one. So now we have 23.2.2 WHQL recommended. And also I want to point out that just in case you're wondering what the numbering is, 23 is the year, 2 is the month, and 2 is the revision in that month. So February 23rd, revision 2, because the first one was 23.2.1, okay? And that's how they always are labeled. Adrenaline, year, month, revision, okay? So you would download this, and you can just straight away install it. Don't worry about, the issues that we're having, because primarily that should be resolved at this point. Okay, but because people had been having so many issues with previous revisions and driver installs, that it had been recommended to use DDU, and that's where DDU comes in. Okay, although there is an AMD cleanup utility tool that they have, but I have not yet actually used it. I guess I'm just so used to using DDU that I just kind of do that almost by default. Okay, so that's how you get your display driver uninstaller. You download it and you run it, and again, you'll be running it in safe mode, and you want to disconnect from the internet to use this tool. And a matter of fact, I believe there is someplace on there, there's like a README or whatever, which explains to you to disconnect from the internet. As a matter of fact, I believe so. Yes, right here, actually. You must disconnect from the internet, okay? And it also says, or completely block Windows Update. Now, there are different ways people have gone about doing this, one of which is within the software itself, there's a button for disabling Windows driver installs. However, that being said, I've clicked that button in the past and then restarted my machine while still being connected to the internet, and Windows went ahead and installed some drivers anyhow. So maybe it was that revision of DDU at the time where it just wasn't quite working. I don't know. And other people have chosen the route of using Group Policy Editor. Now here's the thing about Group Policy Editor. You have to have Windows 10 Pro in order to be able to use the Group Editor, the Group Policy Editor. And that being said, in the past I've read on forums that supposedly, I don't know for sure because I don't use the Group Policy Editor, that it was being reset after certain Windows updates. Maybe like Patch Tuesday or the bigger updates, something like that. Now, maybe that's no longer the case. I don't know. Again, I wouldn't be able to say for sure because I haven't bothered with the Group Policy Editor. What I personally use is something called the Windows Update Management Tool, and there's also the Windows Show Hide utility. I've done videos in the past on using the show hide utility, and I typically tend to use that. And for me, in my experience, it's been one and done, set it and forget it. I just use the tool, tell Windows don't update my drivers, and that's it. I haven't had to ever run it again after doing it initially. And to be honest with you, it's been a really long time since I've even had to deal with that at all. Although that's my experience, I know other people have had Windows overwriting their drivers. I usually say in the forums to people, hey, use this tool. That's just what I do because it works for me. Okay, so yeah. All right, let's move on. So what I'm going to do now is move over to another machine using my phone and show you exactly how to go about using the display driver uninstaller and also the display driver uninstaller and also installing your drivers. Okay, so we're going to go do that on the other machine right now. Alright, so let's talk about DDU, the display driver uninstaller. Now, I've already gone to Google and searched it out, okay? So I already have it. But as you see here, it's showing up as a shortcut, and that's because the new version of DDU wants you to install the software. So as of right now, DDU is installed onto the computer, and after I'm done using it, I can uninstall it. It used to be that it would just run straight away without any installation needed, but for whatever reason, that's not the case now. Okay, now after you've got it installed on your machine, you're going to need to get into safe mode in order to run it. Because my computer connects both with wireless and the Ethernet, I've turned off the router for now. In your case, you could probably just disconnect your Ethernet cable, but if you happen to have a situation where your computer will connect either wirelessly or via Ethernet, what you want to do is just turn off your router temporarily. Okay, so internet off. Okay, after you've got that, what you need to do is get into safe mode. And how you do that is by holding the shift key and clicking restart at the same time. So hold your shift key down during the time that you click restart. So give me a moment. Alright, so shift, power, and you're going to want to click the restart button while holding down shift. Okay. Now it'll bring you to this screen here. On this screen, what you want to do is click Troubleshoot, Advanced Options, and Startup Settings. Once you get here, what you want to do is click Restart, and when it comes back up, you're going to want to click number 4. Now you don't see the numbers here now, but it'll show you that in the next screen, because what we're going to want to do is enable safe mode. So let's go ahead and click Restart. Alright, here you are. So at this screen is where you're going to click 4. And now we'll end up getting ourselves into safe mode from here. Alright, now we are in safe mode. At this moment, when during safe mode and disconnected from the internet, both, although in safe mode, if you're not using networking, you'd be disconnected from the internet anyhow. But the reasoning for being disconnected from the internet is so that when you get back into Windows and you want to install your new drivers, you don't have Windows trying to install drivers ahead of you. Alright, so now we're going to open up Display Driver Uninstaller. Double click. Alright. You might get a screen that says something like this. Okay, don't worry so much about that. Just click OK. On this screen here, which is your options screen, You pretty much want to leave everything default. There's really no reason to change anything here. Go ahead and close that. On this screen, or on this part of the window, whichever, you want to click GPU. And then here you can choose which GPU you've got installed. For me, it's AMD. It's pretty obvious because it's give you the icon for AMD's right there. So we want to click AMD. And for me, because I'm installing new drivers, completely new drivers, as there was some sort of issue with the other ones, I'm going to click clean and restart. Now, if you're putting in a new GPU, you want to do clean and shut down so that you can clean out old drivers and then install your new GPU. I also want to point out something here, functions that it's going to be doing, and one of them is monitors and hidden monitors. When it uninstalls those, if you happen to have drivers for your monitor, like I do, you're going to need to reinstall those monitor drivers all over again. See this right here, monitors and hidden monitors removed? That's what I'm talking about. So on my other computer, when I did this, after installing the new drivers, I had to go and reinstall my monitor drivers. Sometimes you won't have that situation and it'll just be plug and play monitor. Other times you might have a monitor or two, like mine, where drivers are installed. Alright, now we're going into restart. So after the restart, you won't be in safe mode anymore, and that's fine because you don't need to be in safe mode after the fact, just during the uninstall process, okay? Alright, so now we're back into Windows, and this is where we're going to want to install our new drivers. 23.2.2. From what I could understand on that problem with 23.2.1 was people were having issues when factory reset was ticked in the box. I'll show you what I mean. Okay. So go ahead and click install. Thank you for being patient and bearing with me. Man, that machine is loud. Okay, so on the other version of 23.2.1, the people who were having issues, see here, this box was checked for some people when they were doing the old drivers, and that's how it was messing up their machines. At least from what I was able to gather from conversations on it and comments and things like that. All right, it's kind of irrelevant right now, but I figured I would point that out. I also want to point out sometimes your machine might say time for you to restart even though the thing is still moving, so you don't want to click restart until you see this screen here, and I usually uncheck this as well. Okay, so that's how you use DDU to uninstall old drivers and then move ahead to install your new ones. Okay, so I almost forgot, actually, there is something else. When you get back into the Windows and you're done with the install, you can skip this step, but I would say go ahead and click Quick Setup, and depending on your use case, which I'm assuming most people at this point, if they're downloading these drivers, they're probably doing the esports gaming or, regular gaming. I don't know anybody that would really need to use power saving unless they're doing some sort of low and media center kind of thing where all they're really doing is watching videos, locally or on a Plex server, or maybe, YouTube and Netflix and things like that. And standard, honestly, like I haven't gone through and checked all of these to see exactly what each and every single one of them do, because for me, it's always just been gaming. So I click gaming and continue. Now on this screen here, what you're going to want to do next is go over here to settings, and under settings you want to go to preferences, okay, and here you want to turn off, well, you might want to turn off in-game overlay, because apparently that bothers some people. Like when they load up their game, there's a little pop-up that says what's enabled and what's not enabled and things like that. You can choose to leave that enabled if you'd so like to, but I would suggest disabling the web browser, because I don't know anybody that's actually browsing the web within Adrenaline software. And also advertisements, I turn those things off. Another thing that I do for the settings is under graphics. I will usually change the sharpness from 80 to 50%. And I personally enable enhanced sync, which at that point it will shift from gaming to custom. Okay, so those are the settings that I typically will adjust after installing the new drivers, or installing drivers for, you know, the Radeon software. Thank you for watching. Okay, cool. Thank you for watching. And if you've stayed with the video this long, I appreciate it. Please like and subscribe if you find the information on my videos useful. And again, thank you for watching.